Do you want me to write it my last name out for you phonetically? Would that help?
I can see it there, and it's actually pretty easy. It's Omisore.
Yes.
Omisore. Yeah, that's easy. Um,
Okay.
Hi, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Fitness Focus. As always, I'm your host, Jordan Robinson, and today I'm joined by Toyin Omisore. She's this incredible founder of Roam Loud. And so, hi, Toyin. First, how are you doing?
Hi, Jordan. Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing all right. Today's a good day. The sun is out, so my spirit is full.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And my spirit is always full when I look at your clothes. And so maybe could you tell me a little bit more about Roam Loud and how it got started?
Yes. So Roam Loud is a premium activewear and athleisure brand that I launched in 2020. And I got started because I myself was in the gym and I was super active. I was in the gym, probably this was around 2019, every day. And at that time, I wasn't that really interested or thinking about my active wear. Like I was just wearing whatever I had and just going to the gym. And so I had a friend of mine who let me take advantage of a sample sale. And I was like, okay, yeah. I also had like the spirit of like, I really want to start a business, but I'm not sure what I want to do yet. But I didn't want to put any pressure on myself with like doing research on like different things that I could do. So I just said, all right, like that will come to me when it should. And so it was the first day I got my activewear set. I was in the gym bathroom and I put the set on. I felt so good that like the feeling was like it was just like so exciting. Like this just deep feel good. When you look good, you feel good. And so I think that was what was happening in that moment, and that was also with that feeling. I also had the light bulb where I was like, okay, maybe you should create an activewear brand. But side note, I had no background with creating an activewear brand, but I was like, no, like this is what I want to do. But I also said to myself, like, look, if you're going to do this brand, then it has to be personal. Like it's not just going to be you selling leggings. And then I had just made a commitment to myself that like, look, you're going to create this brand. You want to make sure that like you see yourself in this product and women that look like you are in this product. And so after that, I had a 2 hour workout and then I hit the ground running.
Well, I love that. I think that was one of the things that stood out to me, especially when I was trying to figure out, who are some people that fitness could work with, in the fitness store. And it was the biggest thing is that it was so clear that it's a brand that celebrates and uplifts Black women and is a part of Black culture. And so for me, of course, anybody can wear the brand, but it was something that just resonated with me is that you're another founder that's building something for your community. So that actually leads to my next question. How do you feel like your own identity, has impacted the vision of the brand?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question. I when I think about baby Toyin, when I was younger, granted there black women were on TV, but I feel like there were times where we were just pocketed in different types of stereotypical roles. And then there's another level of like darker skinned black women and how they were casted and how they were portrayed. And so you know, being younger and seeing that in different spaces and also hearing it from people who might not have been supportive of black women and how we exist, that's something that's always impacted me. And in my own journey with womanhood and seeing myself. And so there were moments in my life where I definitely felt invisible. And so it was important that when I was creating this brand, that I was providing a platform for women who look like me, and just kind of showing us, in our beauty, creating products that complement our skin, thinking about our fits, thinking about, when we wear the products, what are some things that we're trying to, achieve, whether it's, protecting our hair and our products thinking about us in those ways. And so I would say it's just that journey of just feeling invisible at times, not feeling fully heard, being boxed in and being limited, being told to tone it down, or you're doing too much. It was a lot of those things, whether it was my specifically something that I came across, or what I saw other people, coming, how people came across to them. I wanted this to be a space where, of course, all women can wear the active wear that I make and create. Like, that's obvious, but it's also going to be a place where it's like, Black women, like, I see you, and I'm thinking about you when I'm thinking about our products, and when I'm thinking about our messaging, and how I want you to feel.
Sure. And that actually, you brought up something interesting about some unique challenges, especially when it comes to when I think about activewear, not only is the fit important, but, getting something that is a good skin tone match, because, as Black people, we come in a full range of spectrums. And sometimes people like look at us and they think brown, but actually some of us are more orange and yellow. Some of us
Mhm.
have deeper hues. Some of us has, depending on the body type, bigger or smaller bodies. So,
Yeah.
are there any unique challenges that you've noticed just right off the bat in starting out your brand?
Yeah, I mean, so it's funny because it's like I went into the activewear space in such a naive way that I don't even think I really thought about the challenges of being in the activewear space. And so, of course, fit is probably that's probably the biggest and most important hurdle that, myself and my product designer, of us, trying to achieve like a good fit. Um, and it's not, and also, I like to be clear that, like, yes, we're trying to aim for a good fit, but I also know that I can't meet all the needs for a fit, for a small brand. But I think it's been really important in this journey that, yes, I'm creating for Black women, but they actually have to be a part of the creation process. And so our fit models are all Black women. And, the beauty right now with my product designer, Tony, and I, is that, like, we're using women of different sizes and different body frames. So, it could have an hourglass or maybe not. She could be straight, she could be wider, she might not have hips. But, we're trying on these pieces, and we're making tweaks of, like, okay, like, let's revise this, let's make this a little bit wider. So it's like we have our hills that we're trying to climb, but at the same time, it feels good, because it's like, okay, we're making these tweaks and we're making change, and then once the products are finalized, especially like when I'm thinking ahead of like our next year collection, I'm excited, because of this fact that, like, we've spent so much time this year really trying to, like, perfect and make changes to things that we've done in the past. And then, the fun part is the colors. That's the part where it's like, oh, this is easy, like, friends, come here, let me see what this looks like on you, let me see what this looks like on you. Because it's not just my skin tone that I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about such a wide array of colors. And so I think actually the colors is the fun part.
Well, and that's actually a good lead into my next question, because I wanted to know, I know you've got a new collection coming out next year. So maybe could you talk through the creative process of what does it look like from having an idea to ending up with a finished product?
Yeah, so for the collection that we have coming out, like, it started with just, I think, about like 3 or 4 different mood boards, just sharing. They all had their own personalities, they all had their own colorways. And from the mood board, then it was like, okay, I knew, like, there were specific pieces that I wanted to include. Some of those pieces are pieces that we've had in the past, but they've been revised. And so I'm excited because there's some of our products from the past are coming to this one, and but they're done differently. um and so, yeah, so once we got the lineup of, like, okay, like, I really want to see this tank bra come back, but I want to see it in a different way. We need to bring back a jacket, and so that's how we started the building process. And also, I'm thinking about, all right, sizing. So for a while we have small to extra large, like, that was just our standard. Not because that's what I wanted, but I don't think a lot of people realize that on the back end, when you're speaking with manufacturers, you get hit with minimums, and I started finding that, like, when I was asking, like, how, can I produce a 2x, can I produce a 3x, even an extra small, we were being hit with, okay, you can, but you have to buy so much more of that product. It doesn't financially make sense.
Hmm.
And so I'm excited because for this time around, we're going to have a wider a range, a wider size range. And I'm aiming for small to 2 or 3x, depending on what the numbers look like. So yeah, so the creation is long, but it's been really exciting to see, ideas that we had on paper, to now we have the samples that we've created, and it's going to be going into production pretty soon.
Wow. Okay, that's wonderful. Well, I guess another question I have for you is, like you mentioned, you haven't. This was your first venture, as you mentioned, into activewear. In the same way that fitness is my first venture into fitness and health. So, do you have any like tips or any ways that somebody might get started to get started in the right foot if they wanted to start an activewear brand of their own?
I mean, for me, it's always about just start. You know, uh, I've I've mentioned, in like I'll say, whether it's on my socials, or I'll talk about, like, the industry is saturated, but quite frankly, all the industries are saturated. But I think it's important that if it's something that you want to do and something that you see value in, that you should at least do it. It may not work out, but that's okay as well. I've had a ton of businesses prior to this one that no one has heard about, or very few people have heard about, because it didn't work out. But one thing that has been like super confirming is like every business that I've had in the past has taught me something and provided me a skill set that has allowed me to move this brand forward. Every single business, from the past has impacted this brand now, and so I absolutely think that, like, if you have something to share, if you have something of value that you want to create, there's no better way than to create it and then stay consistent, because that is the other thing, is like you can have an idea, but you got to do that. You got to be consistent with making it happen. Give yourself a year and then reevaluate where things are.
I think that's great advice. And I think that's definitely something that on the tech side, we also think about. The biggest lesson that I have is just launch, just do anything, and then
Mm,
launch again, and then launch again, and then
yeah.
launch again, and just keep going. And that's really the iterative process that, I think in a lot of ways, people look at, your brand or my brand, and then they're like, oh, well, this just happened overnight. But it's like, no, there were many, many, many mistakes that were made up to this
Yep.
point. We messed up a lot of things, and
Absolutely.
and that's okay. And in tech, one of my favorite sayings is fail fast. If you're going to fall apart, if it's not going to work, let it happen immediately and then
Yeah.
start to pivot, so then that way you can get back on your journey.
Yes, absolutely.
Well, I guess one thing that I was wondering is, when it comes to figuring out, what direction you're going in the future, how do you reach your customers, or how do they give you that feedback to say that, hey, this is something that we would wear or that we would like to see made?
So I get a lot of messages. Yes, I get a lot of. I'll say our customers, and we call them our wanderers. They will message me. They will message me. They will send me emails. They will write comments. They will give reviews, good and bad. And so that's oftentimes how I get the feedback of what they want to see, maybe what they want different. And I always say, it's like, I'm listening. You might not see a change right now, but I'm definitely listening and hearing, what they want. Another thing that I plan to do, is start sending out surveys, and just to get a sense of, just talking to our community of like, what do you want, what would you like to see. It's something that I plan to roll out this year, but because I knew that we weren't going to be releasing anything or making any changes, I decided to wait on it, because I know how I am, and I would hate to like send out like a survey and then get feedback that is like, it breaks my heart, and then it's like, oh, but I can't do anything about it right now. But it is something that, I plan to do, next year, is just sending out some emails and just kind of getting that personal response of like, what do you want. But outside of surveys, definitely, for me, it's the reviews and like what people are just sharing unsolicited.
Yeah, good idea to do those surveys. It's something that we also need to do at fitness. So keep an eye out, listeners, to your emails. We will be
Yes.
sending those surveys soon. Well, that actually made me realize, I never asked you, where did the name Roam Loud come from?
So Roam Loud, getting the actual name was like, it was a 1 week brainstorm session. Um, I had a lot of ideas. So for me, it's like I like to really like bring it back, pen and paper, with brainstorming. And so I had papers up, and I just kind of was like writing all these different ideas of like what what do I want the brand to portray. So I knew I wanted an easy name, like something that was memorable, that was obviously I wanted the English language just because I wanted it to be able to stick with people. But that still, that doesn't give you the name. The brand's DNA, consists of my grandmother. It was really important to me when I think about myself as a woman and I think of legacy. I think sometimes with legacy, the only thought process is having children. But for me, it's all I think about legacy as like impact and like what I'm portraying, like what I'm doing, for in my community and for the world. Um, and so when I think about my maternal grandmother, granted I never met her, I met her through the storytelling of my mom. And so it was extremely important for me to kind of uphold her legacy in some ways. And my mom's legacy. And so when I was thinking about the names, like my mom's name was also on like the board of how can I embody her name. And so my mother's name is Amanda. So A and M, that is, in the word Rome, but she also would always share about a brother that she connected with who's no longer here, and his name was Romeo. And so I had his name on the board as well. But then thinking about what I want the brand to tell people, what I want the brand to do for people. I really wanted to just encourage Black women and everyone else who's connected to the brand, to just like move through this world in a way that like you can be your full self, like regardless of all the noise. And then so thinking about movement and thinking about walking and traveling, I was thinking I had the words that connected to that. And so Rome was one of those things. And I think that initially you can think about Rome as like no direction, but I thought of roaming, as like freedom. I wanted people to just move through this world without necessarily having that map of like these are all the things you have to do, because of the fact that as a Black woman, I know that even with my own pressures that I put on myself, like I always have like this firm list of like all the things that need to happen. And so I wanted the women connected to this brand to just move, just move through this world and do it loudly, because everyone tells us to be as quiet as possible and just, be tolerable,
That part.
so so
That
it's
part.
like, yes. So it's like I'm thinking about the word Rome, I'm thinking about loud, I'm thinking about my mother, and I knew at that time that like those words were supposed to go together, and I knew that it was right because I could see my mother's name in the brand and I could see her brother's name in the brand. And yeah, that's how it worked.
Okay, that's brilliant. Yeah, I love that story. And listeners, I didn't know that story before, so I'm hearing that for the first time too. And yeah, I love that, Toyin.
Yeah.
So thinking about like operations, not even just operations, but just thinking about the fitness industry in general, one of
Mhm.
your big things is inclusivity, as is mine. So could you maybe talk about what the current state of inclusivity looks like in activewear?
I think that as time is going on, I think there's more and more people that are finding emptiness and in the space and finding places to take up. I think the more that we talk about our identities, however that is, I think that people are saying like, huh, like this is missing and I want to see this in the activewear space. And so I'm finding that the smaller brands are doing a good job of like taking up space in whatever way they feel like that they should be taking up, and they're meeting like specific needs and specific populations. And I think it's necessary. I know we have all the giants that people focus on, but I think it's the smaller brands, the medium to small brands, that are the ones that are truly thinking about the groups that they're trying to serve, and really 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 focused on making fine tuning that and making sure that it's providing the best need as possible. And so I think for me personally, because I'm in the space and always paying attention, or trying to pay attention and keep up with everything that's going on, I see more and more brands that are really trying to meet the needs of specific communities, and I think is great. I think we need more of that.
I think so too. I think that was the biggest thing for us at Fitness in trying to figure out what our e-commerce department looks like. We were thinking, well, we definitely want to add e-commerce to the app in some sort of way. And so do we reach out to the big names and we're just one of a million resellers for one of those big names? Or do we focus on the brands that are uplifting communities, that are building stuff for communities, and give them a global platform to reach an entirely new demographic? For us at Fitness, we're thinking about the world at the beginning. We're not just thinking about the US. We're not just thinking about even Western culture. We're
Yeah.
trying to think what are the best activewear brands in the world that are building unique pieces for their communities. And from there, it resonates with the rest. It's what sets culture is the diversity of these different brands. So that's why I was super excited to find you, Toyin. I'm really excited about Roam Loud, and I'm excited for us to work together in the future as well.
Yes, no,
Yeah.
you know me, I talk a lot. I've shared with you a lot about how I love what you're doing. And then when you mentioned the store as well, I was like, oh, this is perfect. I think that a lot of people will see what you're doing and then try to, do the same. But I think it's great.
Yeah. Well, I guess one last question for you, Toyin. For listeners who are new to Roam Loud, new to the brand, and new to seeing you,
Yeah.
what's one message you'd like from them for them to take away from your brand?
From my brand, from our messaging, I think I would just love for people to just be bold. Our tagline is navigate the world boldly. And I think it's just important that we do that, especially in the time that we're in right now. I think it's just very important to, find yourself, be sure of yourself, um, put good things out in the world. Um, Specifically your communities, focusing on the people that are closest to you and just being good and doing good things, and creating, but on top of all of that, like, do all of that as boldly as possible.
Well, thank you so much, Toyin. Yeah, it's been a real pleasure chatting with you today. And
Yes.
Toyin, where can people find you? Where can they find the brand? Where can they start shopping Roam Loud now?
Yes, yes, yes. So you can shop the brand at roamloud.com. You can find the brand Roam Loud on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook. We have a Spotify channel and we roll out playlists as much as possible. We have our monthly newsletter, the Bold Bulletin, that we send out. So definitely subscribe to our emails. And we do highlights every month, really platforming women that are making bold moves in their spaces. And then you can find me on Instagram, Toyin_OM. But yeah, those are all the places that we live. And we're always welcome to new people.
Wonderful, wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Toyin. Yeah, it's been a pleasure, truly, to have you on Fitness Focus today. And have a great rest of your day and a great weekend.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, and you be blessed.
You as well. You as well. Let me see. So I'm going to start it out like, hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fitness Focus. Today, I'm super excited to be joined by Toyin. How do I pronounce your last name?
Oh, me,
Omi.
sure, sure, Ray.
Omisore.
Yes.
Omisore. Okay. So should it be like Toyin Omisore, activewear designer, influencer, blah blah blah? What kind of introduction would you like?
Wander in chief. I mean, I don't really identify as an influencer, even though I think I am to in some way, but wander in chief is fine. Owner is fine. Founder is fine. Yeah, those three work for me.
Okay, cool.